An 11-year-old vanished while on vacation, and for the next 6 years, no one could locate him. Then he turned up at the police station as a 17-year-old, saying he had escaped, though it would later be found that he had created multiple lies when telling what actually happened during those 6 years. Lies to protect his abductor. You are such a genuine gem. Thank you for clicking on my video. I'm Brooke Makenna, and today's case is thankfully a survivor case. This boy was found alive after 6 years, and it's a crazy story of not only how he was abducted, but his living situation for those multiple years and how he escaped, and really the kind of person that he is today and how completely normal he seems despite never going to school after his abduction and also being extremely isolated. He is seemingly such a wonderful young man, and so I'm so happy to tell his story to you today. So it was 2023 in France, and 26-year-old Fabien Ascendi was working his job as a delivery man. He was driving down the road around an hour 45 minutes from Toulouse. He was working this job to get through chiropractic school. However, on December 13th, his day would be anything but normal. As he was driving down the road, this was around 3 a.m., it was pouring down rain, it was pitch dark, he noticed someone was walking with a backpack, a torch, and a skateboard. Now, as Fabien went on his way to his job, he kind of passed by looking at this walker, and then on his way back through the same road when he was done with that delivery, he would see this walker once again. And that is when Fabien decided to stop and ask him if he needed a ride due to the fact that it was pouring rain. And this young-looking boy accepted it and introduced himself as Zach. The two began talking in both French and English as they rode together, and Fabien continued on his delivery route. Zach was helping him carry in the packages. They were listening to music. They were having a good time. They felt comfortable. They were bonded. Thankfully, Fabien was a good guy. This Zach seemed like a good guy. Neither were in harm's way. However, this is when Zach would confess to Fabien that he had given him a false name, that he wasn't just hitchhiking. He had been walking for the past 4 days. His real name was Alex Batty, and he had been kidnapped. Not only just kidnapped recently, but he had been missing for the past 6 years. And so Fabien was shocked. He didn't know if he believed it. He even asked him twice if he meant to use the word kidnap, because they were kind of going between French and English. So he wanted to make sure he was getting it correctly. And that's when Fabien allowed for Alex to use his cell phone. And Alex would show him articles of himself as an 11-year-old boy, the articles saying that he was missing. Alex then went on Facebook to message his grandmother, "I love you, I want to come home." After hearing this, Fabien immediately drove Alex to a police station in Revel, and Fabien would say that Alex seemed tired and stressed, but not necessarily scared. He was mostly relieved to be receiving help. And Alex only had about 100 pounds on him at the time, so not much money to actually survive on.
I told to myself that on the return that I will talk to him or took him with me to
check he's safe.
To check he's safe, yes, yeah. And if you want to be the driver.
Oh, the passenger. Driver. He can be a passenger.
He can be a passenger, and all along during the drive, we talk about his situation. He said that his mother is a bit crazy. I don't know if he was free to leave or... You watch me, Alex. Again, I wish you good luck for your future. I hope that you will be a great engineer. I think that he wanted to be an engineer when we talked about it. I hope that your grandmother will be happy, I hope. I'm sure of it. And if you want to that we meet again, I'm here to talk about it.
It turned out that Zach, now Alex, was telling the truth. 6 years prior, an Alex Batty, who was 11 years old from Manchester, had vanished. He had been born on February 13th, 2006, and when he was 2, his father left the family behind. So at that point, it was him and his mother, Melanie Batty, and his grandmother, Suzanne Caruana. She would become his legal guardian over his mother. And in 2017, Alex's mother, Melanie, would get permission from her own mother, Susan, who was the legal guardian of her child, Alex, that she could take him on a vacation. Melanie was 37 at the time, and she was actually also taking her father, who was a 58-year-old named David. So they were going to travel to Spain. They wanted to take Alex with them, and the three left that September 2017 with plans to return October 8th. However, October 8th came and went, and Susan's husband would go try to pick them up, and they were not there. And finally, the grandmother, Susan, would go on Facebook, and she had received a message from Michelle. This was actually a video of the three of them, Melanie, David, and Alex, speaking to the camera, telling Susan why they had done what they had done, that they were not coming home, and each were stating reasons why. And Alex stated to the camera that it was a million times better being with his mom and his granddad. When the grandmother Susan heard this, she immediately went to the Greater Manchester Police, and investigators believed that the three might be headed to Morocco and in that area, but they didn't believe that Alex was in immediate danger due to the fact that he was with his mother and his grandfather, even though they did not have custody of him, though they did say they were concerned for his welfare. All they knew was that Alex and his mother and grandfather had last been seen in the port of Malaga on October 8th of 2017. That's where they were last seen. And Susan was telling the police that she believed that Michael and David took him abroad knowing that they were not going to return so that they could live an alternative lifestyle. Susan said they didn't agree with her normal lifestyle and her belief systems and didn't want her son to even go to school. Susan said that Melanie had always believed that she was a great mom, but Susan disagreed because a mom puts her children first.
On the Wednesday, after I'd tried to contact Alex, I got a text of his granddad saying that Melanie had said that all electronic equipment was being switched off. At that point, I knew they weren't coming back. Phoned the police again, but I did it out of desperation, and I knew they couldn't do anything. Explain to anyone how it feels knowing you might never see the grandson that you love so much. You might not see him ever again. Just please, just contact the police, contact me, just please help him to come home.
She said Melanie and David were kind of living in an alternate reality, and that David wasn't as far down the rabbit hole, but he was getting close. That Melanie was obsessed with freeing herself from the government, wanted to go down the path looking for the truth, so much so that in 2016, so a year before she had taken her son, her erratic parenting had lost her custody of Alex. And that very next year, she had begged Susan to just take him on vacation. And Susan had done so, wanting to let Melanie have some time with her son. Susan said now she didn't know why she had agreed. Melanie's friends in the area would also admit that she was known to believe in multiple conspiracy theories, such as flat earth theories. She believed that COVID-19 was created by the state to control the people. And she was just very much into being completely off the grid. However, even if she was choosing to do so, she had taken this boy who was her son, but she did not have legal custody of him. Susan said Alex was a very smart boy. He always had been. That just before they were about to come back from vacation, she had actually gotten a call from Alex and that they were having a normal conversation, and then Susan asked when they were coming home.
He said, "Hello, Grandma, I'm on the beach." I said, "Oh, right, great." And then I said to him, "You are coming home on Sunday, aren't you?" And he said, "Mum, we are going home on Sunday, aren't we?" And in the background I heard her say, "Right, switch that phone off. No more phone calls. No more contact. That's it."
4 months later, Alex, Melanie, and David still had not returned home. In February 2018, the Spanish authorities admitted that even with an international appeal, they had failed to trace them. Greater Manchester Police Detective Sergeant Pete Morley warned the public that Alex could be living in some sort of commune without proper health care, checkups, vaccinations, or dental care. But still, no information was coming in about their whereabouts. The department even issued an appeal for people to come forward on Alex's 12th birthday. 8 months after this, in October of 2018, this was a year since Alex had last been seen, and Susan posted on Facebook that it was unbearable pain. She wrote, "We pray we will see you again one day. Please, we aren't getting any younger. We love you so much." She had also posted her phone number on social media pages in case he had forgotten it and wanted to call and contact her. By February 2019, 1 year and 4 months missing, the Greater Manchester Police appealed to the public once again, saying that Susan was absolutely desperate for a safe return, and when I spoke with her recently, she said if there was one thing she could say to Alex, it would be for him to please get in touch, as his disappearance has left her broken. In 2021, Susan wrote on Facebook that she would give anything for just one hug, and for Alex to please give her a sign, but it still didn't come. For the next 2 years after this post, no information came. Now, 6 years since Alex had last been seen, the boy had showed up at the police department wanting to tell his story. His number one focus was that he wanted to return to the United Kingdom to see his grandmother, Susan, but he was still in France. So while he was interviewed there, Susan heard the news that her grandson had been found. She was so happy. She spoke to him. He seemed well. And Alex was telling the French police that since 2017, he and his mother and grandfather had been living an off-the-grid lifestyle. They changed their names. He grew out his hair, and he often wore sunglasses and hats for the first few years to disguise himself. That they started in Morocco, Spain. They were moving from house to house with other families. They joined some sort of religious community where there were 10 members, and they would often meditate, talk about reincarnation. They were growing their own food using solar panels, and that Michelle and David were often working odd jobs, often at the place where they were staying to get room and board as well. But he did not have any schooling the entire time. And Alex said after about 2 years in Morocco, where he'd spent most of his time reading, drawing, going to the beach, he was just kind of on vacation for 2 years. They then moved to France. He was 14 years old, and he was told he would need to start working as well, so he started picking up odd construction jobs. This is when Alex admitted that he had started wondering if this was the kind of life he wanted to live. He was weighing the pros and cons of going back to the UK. He wanted to be a computer software engineer, and he had no computers available to him. He mentioned to his mother and his grandfather, and his mother told him that he was going to be a slave to the system. His grandfather told him that he wanted Alex to do what was best for him. That the reason that his grandfather had even come was to make sure that Melanie and Alex were both happy, healthy, with a roof over their heads. Alex said he then knew that he wanted to find a way to escape and make his way back. It didn't happen right away though, and he said from 2021 to 2023, they lived in the Pyrenees Mountains on the border of France and Spain, and David worked as a handyman for room and board there. Although they didn't always live together, a lot of the times Melanie and Alex were living a little farther away because Melanie was very interested in living in a religious community, a commune. And so she was trying to find that community, whereas David just wanted somewhere to stay. Around November 2023, Alex decided to apply to a school nearby. However, he didn't have the proper paperwork, so he was denied, and due to this teenager not having proper paperwork and not being in school, the school did report this to the authorities, but it wasn't followed up. So by this time, he was 17 years old, his mother was 43, his grandfather was 64, and he had been missing for 6 years. So by the next month, December 2023, Alex said that Melanie wanted to move to Finland and that he didn't want to go, that they had brief arguments and he knew he couldn't live with her anymore. She was apparently very hard to argue with. She was very set in her way and there was no changing her mind. So Alex knew she wouldn't move back to the UK with him. He played it cool that night. He made her dinner. He wrote her a goodbye note. And on December 11th, 2023, he ran away. In the note, he had spoken about how much he loved her and appreciated her. He said that it's just not the best for his future. And then he took a warm jacket, a skateboard, some money, and left in the darkness of the night. He was headed to Toulouse, France, looking for a British consulate to help him return to the UK. He said he was so exhausted from walking by the time the delivery man came and picked him up that he was so happy for the ride. And when he was asked about what happened to his grandfather, Where was he? Was he with his mother? Was he going to Finland? Alex said he had died several months prior. French authorities reported that Alex was in good health. He didn't appear abused. So 3 days after his rescue, Alex was returned to the UK, saying that that is where he wanted to be.
I'm Assistant Chief Constable Chris Sykes of Greater Manchester Police. We are relieved and overjoyed to receive the news from the French authorities that they believe Alex Batty has been found safe and well. On Wednesday, a member of public reported a potential sighting in the Toulouse area of France. The young man and Alex's grandmother spoke on a video call last night, and whilst she is content that this is indeed Alex, we obviously have further checks to do when he returns to the United Kingdom.
And just before Christmas, he was reunited with his grandmother, and Manchester police were then considering whether they should conduct a criminal investigation into his disappearance. They believe that his mother, Melanie, was probably already in Finland by this point, and so Interpol was asked to join the search.
It gives me great pleasure to say Alex has now made his safe return back to the UK after 6 years. We are aware the French authorities disclosed detailed information yesterday during their press conference relating to what Alex may have been doing and where he has been over his years missing.
So the Greater Manchester Police Assistant Chief Constable Matt Boyle said,
"Speaking with him at a pace that feels comfortable to him will ultimately determine how this case has progressed and whether there is a criminal investigation to ensue. He may now be 6 years older than when he went missing, but he is still a young person."
However, at this point, residents in France came forward to the police saying that they were neighbors of Melanie and David and Alex, and that they had seen David alive only 2 weeks prior to this. They knew him as Peter, though, but it looked identical to David. Police admitted around this time that his status was unknown. But then it was revealed that Alex had lied. You see, 5 days after returning to the UK, he would give his first ever interview to the Sun newspaper, and there he would admit that he had fabricated parts of his story. The walk that he had taken when he left his home with Melanie was only about 2 days, 22 miles, and that his grandfather, David, wasn't dead. He wanted to keep his mother and his grandfather safe from being caught by authorities and charged with child abduction, and so he had wanted to make it seem like he had walked a lot farther than he did so they wouldn't be able to find where she was located in case she was still there, give her time to leave, and that he wanted to completely leave his grandfather out of it.
But don't need to pack, don't show any sort of indication that I'm leaving. First night it was raining quite a lot. Left pitch black. Journey was quite a while. I didn't really know where I was going. I was just following road signs. I'd mostly travel at night time just for my own safety and sleep as little as I could and in as illuminated areas as I could. Sleeping on the street was alright. Wasn't too cold. Had a good warm jacket. Had my skateboard. Had money for food. First, when he stopped, I was a little bit worried because I was thinking, what kind of lunatic would pick up another lunatic walking in the middle of the night in the pouring rain? Luckily, it was a very nice person, and yeah, he really, really helped.
He said he knew that his mother was a good person, but not a great mom, saying she was anti-government, anti-vax, and left him with no friends, no school, no social life at all. He said the only person he knew that was his own age was this Spanish girl that he had met in a cafe. He said that the decision to take him abroad from his mother and his grandfather was made from love, but that now that he's back, real life is hard for him and he missed a lot. Alex was saying that he had wanted to protect Melanie and David, but then he realized that they were probably going to be caught anyway, which is why he was coming forward and telling the truth. He admitted that when he was picked up by Fabian and he blurted out the truth that his real name was Alex, he was terrified, thinking what he had just done. He said when he got to the police department, he was in bits on the floor, thinking that he shouldn't have said anything. He said he was fingerprinted 5 times. They were sending pictures to his grandmother. He said he spent 1 night in foster care in France before being reunited with his grandmother. Alex said he was shaking when he gave her a massive hug, and everything felt different about the house that he had left 6 years prior because he was bigger. In fact, he was even too big for his bed. But he did say he was now happy and healthy, and he knew that he could take care of himself. So that's what he wanted his mother and grandfather, if they were watching or listening or reading, to know that he could do so, that they did not have to worry about him. And the next day, on December 22nd, the Greater Manchester Police launched a criminal investigation into his abduction, and a judge ruled that he would remain under sealed legal protection as a ward of the court, and his grandmother would care for him until he was 18, which was only 2 months away. Alex's grandmother, Susan, said that she has spoken to Alex about what he went through and that he was subjected to attempted brainwashing from his super religious grandfather. She said that the main thing, though, is that he is safe after what was an overwhelming experience for anyone, not least a child.
I didn't think I'd ever see her again. The first few days I was living with her, every night I went to sleep. I thought that once I'd gone to sleep, I'd wake back up in France with my mum and my granddad. Kind of felt like a dream, to be honest.
Friends of Melanie's were coming forward saying that she spent a lot of time in France in her caravan. She was giving massages. She was going by the name of Rose, and she wanted to set up her own commune. Now, the owners of the home where Alex was last staying in, because he was actually staying in a separate home than his mother at the time, this was in the Pyrenees Mountains, and they said that his mother didn't stay there because she really wanted a spiritual community, and they weren't that. But Alex would be there and would be a part of their family, and that they encouraged him to learn French, to study for school, which is why he would try to apply for that school. They were really trying to make him a part of their family. And when they learned he didn't have paperwork either, they offered to drive him to the British consulate, but he did say he would find his own way. But the month that Alex was rescued, a friend of Melanie's told police that Melanie had emailed them saying that she had to leave her home in a late night dash after finding out that Alex left, saying, "I expect you've seen the news by now." She was renting that home in the Pyrenees Mountains and told her landlord she would be back. Melanie was said to be traveling with a close Italian male who she calls her disciple, as well as her cat Sky. Of course, police went to this home and they found that many things were abandoned, such as suitcases full of clothes, Alex's PlayStation, a laptop, and food. But Melanie was not located, nor David, nor were any clues found where they could have been. A few days later, one of her friends revealed to police that she had told them that she had to keep running. However, according to an anonymous source who contacted metro.co.uk, she is actually being shielded by members of a secretive commune overlooking the village. This is a group of people who will do anything to protect their own, that it's not hard to hide someone there since it's so remote. And another source said that they believe Melanie thinks she's on some sort of divine mission and is led by a higher entity. But either way, she has not been found. However, during the investigation, it was found that back in June 2023, 6 months prior to Alex's escape, Melanie, Alex, and David were spotted at a market together. A picture was found after Alex's rescue, the first picture of any of them since 2017. However, a month after that picture was taken, Melanie and Alex had actually gone to an IT college because he had applied online, and teachers were so impressed with his application that they wanted him to come in, but then they were asking him about his missing personal information, and that's when he admitted to them his real name was Alex Batty. The director of the school didn't realize what this meant, that he was missing, that his mother was on the run. However, when they tried to go to police, they were on a national police strike, and she was asked to just come back later. So nobody actually ever looked into this. Now, a few professionals of psychology have looked into Alex's case and if he's going to be all right, and just kind of the interviews that he's given, what they think. And integrative psychotherapist Linda Dubrow Marshall said that she finds Alex inspirational, but that he will have to readjust to the culture that he hasn't been a part of for most of his childhood. That people who go through these situations often need help reintegrating back into society, but it will help him that he's going back into the society that he did know when he was a kid. And also with his grandmother, who he feels comfortable with. A psychologist named Emma Kinney, she spoke about Alex on Talk TV, saying that he will go through a lot of grief for the next few years due to losing his formative years, that he will never get those back. But Emma says that he appears to be a very resilient young man who escaped by himself and will probably continue to be resilient while transitioning back into the real world. She said he doesn't seem as though he sees himself as a victim at all. In January 2024, Alex would be interviewed for Good Morning Britain with his grandmother Susan, and he admitted that his greatest fear through all of this was getting his mother and his grandfather locked up. He said that's why he didn't come home sooner, was to protect them. And his grandmother agreed the last thing that they would want to do is press charges for them to go to prison. And Alex said he knew when he chose to leave that they could get away before the police got to them.
Yeah, you feeling you're adjusting okay?
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right.
How was Christmas?
Great.
What did you do?
It was quite small, just me, my grandma, my granddad, and my uncle.
What have Christmases been like up until this point?
Not celebrated much, to be honest. You know, not a lot of money, so you can't do, which is normal for a lot of people. Not a big deal, is it? It's just another day, really.
You're an extremely articulate young man, and you said, oh, everybody says that, but it's true, you are.
Well,
and given that you haven't had the stimulation of companionship over all this time, it's remarkable that you should have such a great command of English.
Yeah, just things people say. It's not really, you know.
No, it's true. A lot of people have said it.
Well,
look, Susan, we ought...
For the past 6 years, from the moment it happened, for the back of my mind has always been worry.
For your mum and your granddad?
And my granddad. I remember the first few months, this is silly, I was waiting outside our house and they were 15 minutes late. I started bawling my eyes out. I thought they'd been caught. I'm in the street crying my eyes out with loads of different people staring at me. And they come back and they're just, what the hell are you doing, Alex?
But he has come to the realization that he may never see his mother and grandfather again. And Susan was saying it was just amazing to wake up in the morning and not have that deep pain in her stomach, not knowing where Alex is. Alex was saying that he's been reunited with some of his old classmates and that they are often hanging out. And for his 18th birthday, he wanted to get absolutely hammered with his friends. And just this month, or just last month now, in February 2024, Alex celebrated his 18th birthday. And he was on Good Morning Britain again, saying that he had a lot to make up for, but he was now in college, he was doing well, he has made friends. He doesn't often talk about the kidnapping. In fact, his friends kind of joke with him about it, that it was really just a long vacation. He now has a girlfriend. He says his life is really good and he's just trying to move on, and he doesn't want it to affect him. That he missed out on his teenage years growing up and he's not going to get it back, so he doesn't want to waste these years too. He said he had worried about his mother and his grandfather for the past 6 years, including cooking them meals, helping them financially, on top of not wanting them to go to prison if they were ever found. And it was time for him to start worrying about himself and his own life. Melanie and David are still on the run today, though, as Alex and Susan have said, they don't want to press any charges, nor do they want them to go to prison. Alex just wishes that his mother hadn't done that to him, but he doesn't think investigators will find them anyway, because the world is a big place. But do you believe Michelle and David will ever be found? If so, should they be sentenced for this abduction? After Alex heals some more, do you believe he will want justice? One day, will he want some justice for those years he never got? Those years of isolation? No school? Or do you think he really is just this outstanding young man who just wants to get on with his life? I just cannot believe the maturity levels that Alex has shown and the pure empathy, and he's so intelligent regardless of not going to school for 6 years, the most formative years of school too. He appears to have that real life intelligence that you cannot get unless you have truly lived and had to have relied on yourself. He's a hardworking man. He's socially intelligent as well, even though he was so isolated. He's an incredible, incredible man from what I have. Boy. He turned 18, so he is a man now, but absolutely inspirational. It breaks my heart that for so long he felt like he had to protect the people that took him away from everything he knew. Even if at first he didn't realize that this was anything bad. He was just a young boy that was excited he didn't have to go to school. But eventually he did realize something was wrong, something was off. And even then, he still has so much empathy and understanding for why they did it, for what they did, and that they continue to want to run, and that he won't get to have them in his life anymore. But I'm so glad he did that for himself, for his future, and can genuinely live. And I just wish the absolute best for him. And I do hope that even though he appears very strong, very healthy, very smart, that he still does speak about those things eventually, that he does get some therapy, he does work through it instead of bundling it all up and keeping it inside. I think that is very important. It may take a while to get there, to even realize the trauma that he actually endured. So I'm so glad that Alex Batty was found alive after all of these years, and that he is doing so well. That's all you can ever ask for in these survivor stories. But don't forget to speak up. Your voice is powerful enough, and I love you to absolute pieces.